Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, and welcome to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we educate, inspire, and guide you through divorce and beyond, because as we know, divorce happens, and then you start fresh. And we are here today with one of our amazing experts, Aprille Barker. Aprille, can you take a second and tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. First of all, Olivia, thank you so much for having me on today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course.
As you said, my name is Aprille Barker, and I'm a legal consultant paralegal, and I help individuals navigate through the divorce process. So if they cannot afford an attorney, but they're looking for somebody to help with mediation process or just like driven with preparation of forms, I'm your person, your go-to person to help with that.
Oh my gosh, I wish more people knew about you. And I'm so excited that we're doing this episode and that you're part of Fresh Starts because divorce is so complicated, right? It really is. Like I tell people, it's like stepping into a different world. Like you're like Alice in Wonderland and you're like, I don't understand what's happening here. So to have somebody like you through the process must just truly be life-changing for people. So I'm really excited that you're here, first of all. Okay, so divorce is really like a second job for a lot of people, right? It's just so much. Even if you go the mediation route, which I did, it was so many hours on the phone, so much paperwork to fill out. So as somebody that supports people through this and I would say like the logistical side of things, right? How can we simplify this process? How can we not get burnt out? And how can you support people through everything that they're doing with starting from taking inventory of their home to mortgage and everything in between?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's very overwhelming. Obviously you don't get married with the hopes that one day you're going to be divorced. So it is a very emotional situation to be in. And it is difficult, when you're going through the process of what do I have to fill out? What do I have to provide? What information needs to be known? How long is the process going to take? What am I going to lose? What am I going to gain? So my role is to help the individual take a deep breath, relax, and understand that this is a very difficult process. It's a very emotional process. And I'm here to hold your hand to help you from the beginning to end. And even though it's very overwhelming, for me, what I like to do with my clients is to really help them understand the process. So my goal is to educate the individual and to take it one step at a time because the whole process from beginning to end can be very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is give like broad strokes of what to expect during the divorce, but also then we break it down and we say, okay, first, is it an amicable divorce? If it is amicable, then that just makes things so much easier. And as a paralegal legal consultant, I can actually meet with both husband and wife or the couples and explain the process to them. If not, if it's just one individual, I can meet with him or her and explain to them, okay, first, this is what we have to do. We're going to file a petition for divorce if it's not amicable, because then it just gets the ball starting and then we'll just kind of do it piece by piece. If it's an amicable divorce, when I meet with the couple, I say to them, let's just do it all in one big package. So this way you don't have to worry about piecemealing it. You don't have to worrying about, is the court going to schedule a first appearance? Is the court going to schedule a date for mediation? If we can avoid those steps, that is like perfect because we can just take it slowly, go through the process, file everything from the personal data sheet, the joint petition for divorce, all the way to the vital statistics, which is your divorce certificate, and file everything at one time. And it just makes it simpler for the individuals going through the divorce.
I have so many questions for you. So to start off, where do you fit like in the whole big picture, Aprille? So are you technically a mediator or do you do something different?
So I actually, it's a great question. And I actually can help individuals through mediation because that's part of my background. I've been involved in a lot of different mediations where it's either representing the petitioner or the respondent.
Mm.
But I stay tuned because I am taking a class to become a certified mediator. And by probably the beginning of next year, 2025, I will have my certification. But with that being said, at this particular moment, I can actually meet with couples to help them navigate through the process. So I helped a couple go through a divorce, and it really worked out. They were so happy, and obviously not going through the divorce, but just the process of it.
Yeah.
It just made it a lot easier for them because I have so many tools that I can say, okay, you should probably go talk to a financial advisor. Or, you should talk to an accountant, or if you need a realtor to sell your home. I have so many different networking
Yeah.
people out there that I could help. So what I do is I help them with educating, navigating, and filling out all of the forms that they need from beginning to end.
So I'm going to just assume you probably help people actually save money in the long run.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because you're supporting them in a lot of things that calling a lawyer, they would bill that for the time.
Correct. So, I do have my hourly rate, and, but I'm a lot cheaper than what an attorney would cost. And some couples would probably need to have an attorney depending upon how, contentious it is.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people out there who would need somebody like me to utilize my services where they're like, look, we're just not getting along. Things aren't going well.
Hmm.
We're going to be better off, divorced. But we don't want to have the expense of an attorney. Who could I go to? So you could go to somebody like myself, but most people instantaneously think, oh, I need a mediator.
Right.
And that's kind of where I can come in, because even though like this couple I helped, I was kind of like helping mediate because I was educating the both of them.
Right.
Like, we have to be transparent on our finances because sometimes one spouse doesn't know like the whole financial picture, which is very overwhelming.
Yep.
And hate to say it, but typically it's the female who doesn't know, the global picture of what they have financially. So it's, I offer pearls of wisdom for transparency and say that in the state of New Hampshire, that there is a specific rule. It's Rule 1.25A, which talks about discovery process. So exchange statements, exchange of retirement accounts, pension,
right, bank
insurance
accounts, right,
policies, health insurance, the whole 9 yards of. So this way, both parties know exactly what to expect when you're going to be divvying up your finances, your assets. Because in the state of New Hampshire, it's a 50-50 split. And, people don't like to, part with their money. So that's where it gets a little tricky, a little upsetting. But if for myself, what I'll try to do is navigate with the individuals.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this is how it is. And it has to be some sort of an equitable distribution.
Right.
If the parties agree, like maybe it might be like a 45-55, something along those lines, that's okay. But you don't want to have like big differences where somebody feels like, oh, I'm going to walk away with 70% and the other one's going to walk away with 30. That's not fair and equitable.
Yeah.
Tamping down the expectations and of one thinking, hey, I'm going to take everything and you're going to get nothing, because that is absolutely
no, and a judge wouldn't sign off on that either, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, do you only work in New Hampshire, or can you do this elsewhere?
I work in New Hampshire for family law because I've been in New Hampshire for 3 decades, and I know family law in New Hampshire backwards and forwards, but that's really the state that I work in.
Okay, that's great to know. So just before we let you go, obviously every divorce is different, but what are some general things, like if somebody's considering a divorce, that they might want to have, like document-wise, like ready to go before they come work with you? Maybe that's like their bank statements, or like what would you recommend people kind of start collecting?
Excellent question. So yes, when they come to meet with me, I recommend that they at least have like if their debt, what kind of debt that they may have, if they own a home, what that is, if is there a mortgage on it, is it free?
Yep.
Retirement accounts, life insurance policies, health insurance plans.
Okay. Yep.
all of that. If they don't know all of that information, that's okay, because at the initial consult is when we start really talking about all of that. Because more often than not, when people come in, they come in and they're like, we don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the point of meeting initially is to basically tell them, don't, not to worry about it. You
Mm-hmm.
got this. I'm going to give you a checklist. If we have an opportunity to email beforehand, if there's enough time, I'll
Yep.
send like an outline of different things that they should bring with them so that we can discuss it.
Yeah, because it's just so much paperwork, and like even the things that you were mentioning, I'm like, I would have no idea what those meant. So, having someone just say, "Here, this is what you need to do next," I'm sure is it's just a huge benefit to people's process during this.
Absolutely.
So how do you work with people if people are listening to this and they're in New Hampshire or they know somebody in New Hampshire and they would love to get in touch with you? What typically does it look like to work with you?
I actually travel.
Okay.
So I do have an office in Nashua, New Hampshire. But sometimes it's easier if I go to people's homes. I'm happy to do that.
Mm.
And if not, obviously, I'm more than happy to have them come to my office. And the initial consultation, we just kind of sit down and discuss the process completely. Because again, it's a very emotional time. And
Yeah.
so they're thinking about whether or not you want the divorce, if you're the one who's petitioning or not. It's still a grieving process, and it's still a very difficult thing to go through. So I think there's a misconception for individuals who are going through the divorce, where if one wants it, they think that everything's wonderful and they just want to move forward. That's
Yeah.
not always the case. It's a very difficult and emotional situation to go through. So when they come in, whether it's together or separate, I just kind of like find out what are they feeling? What are they
Yeah.
thinking? What are they looking for? What is their goal? Because if I understand that, it will help me help them to get where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can start talking about, okay, these are all the different forms that we need to fill out. Here's your homework for you to get all of your disclosures together. So if they don't have them all with them at the first initial consultation, that's perfectly fine. It's
Yeah.
because it is a process and it does take
Yeah.
some time.
It does. So I just want to clarify for people listening, if somebody's listening and they're like, I don't either have the money for a lawyer or I don't want to hire a lawyer, they can just do this process with you lawyer free.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wow, that's pretty
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a lot
I mean,
cheaper.
I really enjoy working with individuals very much, and family law. Some people are like, "Ooh, it's a tough one to
Yeah.
be in," but I really want to help individuals and help them get to where they need to be because, as you said, fresh start, right? Starting
Mm-hmm.
all over again, and it is a fresh start, and it is a good thing. What I've encountered over the years is that when we're in the beginning of the process, people are they don't even know what to expect. When they're halfway through the
Yeah.
process, they feel good, right? They feel
Yeah.
confident that
Yeah.
this is great. I'm getting to the end. It's going okay. And then when the divorce is over, that's when a whole different grieving process begins. But that's when you can kind of pick yourself up and move on and do what you need to do to proceed forward. Another thing I do help individuals with is post-divorce issues. I think a lot of
Mm.
people fail to recognize what happens when the
Mm-hmm.
divorce is over.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when the divorce is over, so whether it's if whoever has the house, it has to be redeeded. If you
Mm-hmm.
have estate planning and you had a trust together as a married couple, that needs to be dissolved, and you want to think about establishing your own estate planning. If there's retirement that needs to be distributed, there's a document called Qualified Domestic Relations Order, and that needs to be prepared. So even
Mm.
though the divorce is over officially, you're officially
Yeah.
divorced, there's still sometimes are post-divorce
Yeah.
issues that need to be handled.
Wow. I'm so glad that people like you exist because it makes it so much more possible for people to get the support they need and get through the divorce process without spending their life's inheritance and, everything. So April, if somebody's listening to this and they're going through a divorce or considering a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with?
I would tell them to not feel defeated,
Mm.
not to feel that you're a failure, not to feel that, hopelessness, because first of all, no one's ever a failure. You know, things happen. It takes two to make something work. It makes two to make it not work. Right. And so I want to be able to be their cheerleader to explain to them and to tell them it's all good. I know it's not easy, but you will
Yeah.
get to the other side and you will be much happier in the end because you don't even realize it when you're going through the divorce. You know, you're heartbroken, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, how am I ever going to move forward? But you do. And it's amazing. And if you have really good support in your personal life, whether it's with family or friends, that's also big, because it does help you get to the other side. And you will, the individual will be, or the parties will be very happy once they can move on and learn how to work with one another post-divorce, especially if they have minor children.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, April. You can find all of April's information in the show notes and get in touch with her for the support that you need today. Thanks, April.
Thank you for having me.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.